In the previous lesson, we created all the number range intervals necessary for the control of the process of creating each master record of a fixed asset that our end users encounter in their day-to-day operations. So every time we have a new fixed asset for a given company code, we need to create in the SAP system the new master record, and the number range will come into play exactly at that point in time. And of course, that was a really important step, but we know and we know for sure that you are now wondering, okay, that object, the number range, what we need to link the number range to which other secondary object. And interestingly enough, of course, that is something that we have to do in customizing, but this is the first time we will use Fiori, just to show that we have access to some customizing directly now with Fiori Apps. So well, we will use a specific Fiori app to display what we call asset classes, because for each asset class we link a particular number range interval. And well, some typical example of asset classes are, for example, the buildings or the vehicles. But of course, something that we always need to keep in mind is that each one of these asset classes is created at client level. So that means that it's available for all company codes. So that is the reason we could also copy very easily the structure for the number range intervals, because there's a match with the asset classes between those different company codes. So well, without further ado, let's switch to configuration. And again, for some, this will be something really interesting, sometimes even something really new, using Fiori to run some settings of the customizing of the SAP system. Actually, it's we will use this app that display asset classes per chart of depreciation. And what's interesting is this is just an app for display, but it gives us access to the customizing settings right from Fiori, and we'll use it to see the match between the number range and some particular asset classes. So let's start this. And well, we need to complete the ID for our asset class, which we will start first with asset class 3000, and well, fixture and fittings, and let's select the chart of depreciation that we created in some of the previous lessons. So this one, of course, and with this we can just execute. First, we have a summary just showing that there's one, so let's double click on that one for fixture and fittings. Actually, well, this takes us to an overview of all the asset classes, but interestingly enough, we want to check, as we have been saying, the 3000. Later we can compare to maybe the vehicles, the 3100, but right now let's select the line for 3000 and let's go for the details. So of course, in the details we have other settings, for example, I mean, just the short text, the long text, but really important, for example, the account determination ID, the screen layout rule ID. But in this scenario right now, or at this point in time, we are focusing in the number range. So as you can see, number range 03 is the one that is assigned to our particular asset class 3000. Again, that just means that every time there is like a new fixture, a new master record for this asset class, the user will use the Fiori app or the transaction in the SAP logon to create that new master record, and the ID for that particular master record or new master record of fixed asset will be or will correspond to the number range interval 03. And actually, if it's internal, well, the system will use the next available number for this new particular master record. So well, after we have seen this, we can just like go back, and for example, we can compare against the 3100, the vehicles. So let's select that line and let's go for the details. So of course, pretty much most of the things are different. Also the account determination, the screen layout rule. But interestingly enough, yes, the number range is different. It's 05 here. This is really important and really interesting because every number range interval has a lower limit and an upper limit, and they don't overlap. So immediately, if an accountant or just like a regular user checks a report or displays the asset master record in for fixed assets, and they see a fixed asset that starts with 5, for example, they will immediately in their mind it will be triggered that that one is a car, it's a vehicle. If it starts with the other number range, 03, for example, then they will immediately know it's for fixture and fittings, and so on and so forth. So that is, of course, another nice thing, and it comes into play with the asset classes, because one of the main objectives of asset classes is to classify, of course, to just classify our master records. And through these number ranges, the different number ranges for the different asset classes, we can accomplish also that very easily. So after we have seen this, we can just go back. Actually, we can quit this app. And well, we have seen that different asset classes, they have of course different parameters, in particular the different number range. And also really interesting to know that now we can use some Fiori apps for some customizing settings. But of course, we just want to remember that you can write to our email 123learnsap@gmail.com for any doubt, any problem that you might have, or just any comment. And we are all the time checking that email to read your communication and give you a quick response to any doubt that you might have. So of course, thank you so much.